Welcome to Rock Solid Productions, where in this video we are going to test out the Hyperkin Supa Retron HD 16-bit Super NES and Super Famicom clone console. Gary here with Rock Solid Productions, and Hyperkin recently has started to ship the Hyperkin Supa Retron HD, designed to play your 16-bit Super NES and Super Famicom games and upscale them to beautiful 720p HDMI output on there. Now, the previous console from Hyperkin I was kind of lukewarm on. That was the Retron HD. Very similar concept to this, where they were basically applying an HDMI upgrade to an existing console to make it, compatible with today's flat panel TVs. That system fell a little bit short in my opinion. If you want, check it out right up there where you can kind of see my opinions on the Retron HD. Sound was off, color palette was off. Overall, I just didn't think it delivered a very good experience. This, they're hoping, will kind of change that perception. One of the first things I will say that I like better on this system than their 8-bit system is the fact that it includes not one, but two really good controllers. This is their 4-button Super NES style controller, very similar to the wireless Scout controller that we recently reviewed here on the channel for the Super NES Classic Edition. The Retron HD only included one controller, kind of a bummer. This comes out of the box with two, and this is actually a really comfortable controller. If you want to see everything that this system comes out of the box with, make sure you check out the widget up there where you can check out our unboxing. One thing too, you see Super Castlevania IV playing behind me. We've also recently, and I'll link this down below, we did a live stream showing some playthroughs using the Super Retron HD, and it initially did not play Super Castlevania IV. So what changed? Well, I took the game apart and I cleaned it really thoroughly. Once I cleaned it, it plays on the system just fine. So we're going to take it, we're going to get some games out, we're going to check it out and see how it stacks up to some of the other 16-bit Super Nintendo and Super Famicom clone HD systems out there. Now, like some of these other videos that I've done, this is going to be kind of long. So make sure you check out the more info section down below. There'll kind of be a table of contents so you can see when we start and stop each game throughout everything that we're going to be testing out. Obviously, we're going to be playing some Super Castlevania IV. It's a great game. I love playing it. And since I did have problems with the live stream, did want to just show, yes, it does work, and I have played it since. Yes, it does work on here. But we're going to show some of the other classics for the Super NES and Super Famicom on here. Enough talking for me. Let's get to some gameplay. So, again, starting out here with Super Castlevania IV. Just one of my favorite games of all time for the Super NES. One thing I will say starting off is the skin tones look a little pinkish on this versus their natural color. Normally used to a little bit more white or brown in the flesh tones. Even the steps look a little bit red to me on here. The stock controller feels really, really good. I was kind of disappointed in the responsiveness on the 2.4 gigahertz Scout. I loved the, just the ergonomics of it. I thought that it was a great controller. And here on Super Castlevania IV, it's doing a perfect job so far. Sound is, pretty spot on, I'd say, on here. Not having any responsiveness issues or lag or latency. Yeah, at least nothing that's noticeable and hurting the gameplay as I'm going through the first levels on here. The picture it does look, and we'll see when I do the edits on it. Obviously things will change because it'll be the direct off of the console itself. It does look like it's a little bit blurry and not quite as sharp as I would like it to be. And again, it does look like the red hues are a little bit too overdone on here. Now, for those curious about where you can pick this system up, I'll actually have a link down below in the more info section. I actually ordered this off of Amazon. One of the things that was kind of disappointing too was I had pre-ordered as a Prime customer, and Did not get it until well after the initial launch date. I know there's a couple followers of the channel here who had ordered it as well off of Amazon, and they got it when they should have. Mine was delayed several days, so it's one of the reasons too for the delay here in the review. Like I say, audio on here sounds really, really good. I'm really happy with the audio. You know, I know a lot of people ask, you know, why are you playing the same game on all these consoles and everything? Why don't you change it up? And we will play a few different things on this system, but that way too, it's a good basis of comparison when, you know, if you want to go back and compare footage before I've done some kind of a, you know, versus or comparative video. So Super Castlevania IV, no issues playing whatsoever. Glad to see that the issue that I had on my live stream was simply due to a dirty cartridge. I'd say if anything that kind of leans towards the Supa Retron HD wanting a more clean cartridge before you start playing versus some other systems which may be more accepting or okay with, I guess I would say, playing cartridges that might be a little bit more dirty or less than perfect in their cleanliness. And that could be tied into Retron's pin perfect design that they have on it. But here you see, got past the first boss on Super Castlevania IV. We're gonna load up our next game. Often people want to know, how do these type of systems handle, you know, multi-carts? Now, I don't have an EverDrive, I don't have any SD to SNES or any of those type of cartridges. I do have the Ultimate Caveman Collection cartridge and some of the others from Retrobit here. I'm going to throw in Joe and Mac. Now, this system is hardware based, it's not software based. So unlike Hyperkin's other system that they have out, the Retron 5, that dumps the ROM to the cartridge, or the ROM to the system, this is actually playing straight off of the cartridge itself. Colors look a lot better in this, I would say, than on, whoop, come on you, than on Castlevania. We have played a ton of Joe and Mac lately on the live stream and on the review of this, so we're not going to spend a whole lot of time here with the Caveman Ninjas. Yeah, everything pretty much looks and sounds as it should on this game, so I mean, no major complaints on it here. Yeah, sound and the video look just fine. And it could just be the choice of color palettes here on this game versus what Super Castlevania IV was. I absolutely love TMNT 4 Turtles in Time. I think it's one of the best games ever made for the 16-bit era. It's just a stupid fun beat 'em up. And we're gonna take Leonardo this time. Normally I take Michelangelo, but we will go to the Big Apple at 3 a.m. Now, one thing I am noticing here just a little bit is the fact that the top of my screen is slightly cut off. And there's not, this is my normal Element TV that you guys normally see me play on and whatnot. It's a 1080p TV, not many bells and whistles, very plain, not 4K, but it does not allow me to adjust the picture size. Now, that is something that I didn't mention, is the fact, and again, if you check out our unboxing video, I cover this in there, the fact that this does have both a PAL or an NTSC switch and 16:9 or 4:3 switches. Now, I'm going to pause the game here too really quick. If you look at Leonardo, he actually looks a little smudged or just not as crisp. It's something I noticed in our live stream, but it doesn't look great. If anything, it almost makes it look like like it's overexposed. That I will say that the colors on this thing are, you know, just super bright. I mean, it's the screen looks very vibrant. I'm liking that. I just wish that they had not softened the edges on the pixels quite so much. The controller feels nice and responsive. Now, it does have a 6-foot long cable that comes on the controller itself right out of the box. I am actually using a 6-foot extension as well. Just, I didn't want to put as much, not tension, but I wanted to be able to sit back on the couch here and play and not have the cord stretched out like a piano wire between me and the console itself. Funny thing, I actually mentioned this in the live stream I already did some playthrough on TMNT 4, is I actually never watched the cartoon. I watched both movies, which I always thought that was funny that Kevin Nash, being a wrestling fan, played the Super Shredder in the second movie. Because, you know, when you are Super Shredder, you are Super Shredder for life. And just like that, Baxter Stockman is beat. Now, if you've watched the channel recently, you know that one of my favorite accessories for the Super NES and the Super Famicom is the ASCII-Aware Super NES Advantage. It gives you an arcade stick style controller along with just great button layout, turbo and auto fire. We are going to use that for Star Fox here, which, as you can see, playing just fine. Now, what I like about the Super Advantage is the fact that the L and R buttons are now left and right of your main buttons on here, so you can actually do like the rolls a lot easier. It does also have the turbo fire option, which I have turbo on right now. Not the auto fire, just the turbo fire. But if I wanted to, all I would have to do is slide the switch over. Bam, I've got auto fire going. This definitely looks sharper than Turtles did. I will say this actually looks really, really sharp. I will say the one thing too that I've liked about this system so far is, yes, I've needed to have clean games, but if my games are clean, it's played everything so far that I've thrown at it, regardless of, you know, if it's Super Famicom or Super NES. And just like that, we now have the twin blasters on here. Here you can see the barrel roll working just fine. You know, the control on here feels really, really good. Again, I'm not really feeling any kind of lag, delay, or latency whatsoever. You know, if it's there, I mean, and it could be there. I'm not, I don't actually go through and measure that type of thing. I'm just going by, see the pants, what am I feeling on my TV versus, you know, what am I feeling with my inputs? And I mean, it's feeling pretty good. Again, sound and video quality and everything on this looks really good. I'm digging this. I would say that perhaps the video is a little bit hit and miss, like we saw on the Castlevania 4 and on TMNT 4, Turtles in Time. Maybe it just has problems with the fourth game in a series. But those just looked a little bit muddy or a little bit off on the color palette, and this actually looks pretty solid to me. You know, the blaster sound right, the voiceover and everything. Man, they were doing voices in 16-bit games. It's kind of weird to think of that. And they didn't sound completely terrible. So got the first bay there. Got those two off. Kind of take some evasive action here to make sure we don't get hit. So, and the main thing for testing Star Fox, of course, is to make sure that those Super FX chip games do play, which this is playing just fine. Star Fox works, and it looks and sounds really good. Back to the included controller, and Super Mario RPG loads up and is playing, again, just fine. Now, this is the Super Famicom version. Now, one thing of note on here, and I will make a comment or basically add kind of an overlay when I do my editing, just to let you know, is this truly stereo or mono? A lot of these clone systems will only do mono and then mix it to both left and right. All right, so here we are inside the castle. See if we can run past these. Ha-ha! Oh, the guards are gonna make me have to fight, huh? See, this is one of the things I just despise about JRPGs is the fact, okay, great, I want to fight. Just let me fight. I don't like turn-based games. I just never have. The red on like the attack looks a little bit more pink than red, I will say. So right there you can kind of see the red on the A. You know, this is another game that can be a challenge for some clone systems, and the Super Retron HD, no problem. And again, this is even the Japanese Super Famicom version. Ever since Chris Jericho and Kenny Omega had their match in New Japan Pro Wrestling, a lot of people have been talking about New Japan Pro Wrestling. And as such, I figured I needed to throw in my New Japan Pro Wrestling game, which I will be playing with my Super Famicom controller. So we'll just go to the IWGP battle, single, tag team. We'll do single. The animation of this actually looks... Dude, that's totally Rick Steiner. That's hilarious, the dog-faced gremlin. That looks like Chris Benoit. That's Scott Steiner. That's Hawk from the Legion of Doom. That's Scott Norton. Interesting that they have so many old WCW guys in here. Is that Jushin Thunder? Yeah, that's Jushin Thunder Liger. All right, I got to go with Big Papa Pump. Before he was Big Papa Pump. I have no idea what any of the controls are. I've actually never played. I've owned this game for almost a year. This is the first time I've played it. So it looks like Y is run. B is grapple, or B is punch. A is grapple. Oh, suplex outside the ring. Rest hold. Oh, Benoit with a half Boston Crab there. Oh, pile driver, tombstone pile driver. That move needs to be banned. Belly to back suplex. Another tombstone pile driver. Ooh, thought maybe might have had a Tito Santana flying burrito moment there coming. Oh, Big Bop Pump is dying on the outside. Ring out. Oh, well, there's a chair there I was going to try to grab to bring in. So, the IWGP game, I got to play more of. This is pretty cool. Now, what I'm going to do here, that's kind of cool how they have Steiner grayed out. So I happen to have this little device here called the Game Genie. And I tried testing it before and I couldn't get it to work. Took it completely apart, took the board out and everything. I used some Bright Boy to clean the main board itself and everything. Clean that off with some Dynamite Magnum Force. This works. It works in pretty much every system that I have, not just the Super Retron HD. It works in the Super Retro Trio Plus. It works in my Super NES, my original Super NES. It works pretty much in every system so far that I've tried it on. So we're going to try some Super Star Wars with the Game Genie before we wrap things up. And we'll finish off with the stock controller once again. I've got a list of Game Genie cheat codes here that we're going to add in. Let's see, we're going to do infinite lives. So it's B to enter, not A. This title screen does look a bit smudged, I would say. Like that there too, the lettering all looks very blurry to me, and it's not my glasses. It does not look like it gave me my infinite lives, but you know, I'm so glad that I remember this part of the movie of A New Hope, because again, this is Super A New Hope, not Super Star Wars, because it's only one movie. This part of the game looks better than the title screen and even the beginning of the crawl where it had a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away. Does not look nearly as blurry or smudgy as that did. I mean, I gotta say overall, very positive experience playing the Super Retron HD amongst all the games that I've thrown at it so far. Yes, there have been a couple issues where I thought the video did look a little bit blurry or like I say, I've called it smudgy. But the audio seemed pretty accurate throughout everything. You remember in A New Hope when Luke took on the Sarlacc pit monster? Yeah, me either. Uh-oh. And like that, we're dead, and we're gonna wrap things up. Oh, here you can see I didn't lose any lives. It still says Luke 3 lives even after I died, so now we're gonna wrap things up. So there you have it, my review of the Hyperkin Supa Retron HD. Now, one thing I didn't cover in the video itself, actually I did cover, had some technical issues while recording and whatnot. It does play the Super Game Boy games without a problem. Donkey Kong Land and all the Super Game Boy compatible games worked without issue on here. So what do I think of the Super Retron HD? First of all, next to the Retron 5, I have to say probably the best console from Hyperkin that I've used to date. I was not a fan of the Retron HD, as you've seen and heard me mention in my previous videos on it. This is a much better value simply from the standpoint it includes 2 controllers, whereas the Retron HD only included 1. The eject button works great, the aesthetics are great. The video was a little bit muddy on some games, like Turtles 4 you guys saw, a little bit on the muddy side. Some of the other games wasn't quite as crisp, which was confusing because looking at Star Fox, I thought Star Fox actually looked pretty decent. So I don't know if it's the palette that they've chosen or what. Super Star Wars was another one where you saw the text was kind of blurry and smudgy, so I wish that they would have cleaned up the video a little bit more. Audio-wise, seemed decent. Nothing out of the ordinary, nothing out of the blue, nothing offensive on that. So as far as that goes, it did work well on the audio. The controllers felt much more locked in than the wireless counterpart that you've seen me review here on the channel. They're really comfortable. I do like the ergonomics and the design, and the fact that you get 2 of them, super cool. Good on Hyperkin for recognizing the fact that they were only including 1 controller, kind of a downer compared to what some of the other manufacturers were including. Value-wise, that's going to be a tough one because at the price that you have here, you're $20 more expensive than a Gamerstech 16-bit HD. And on the flip side, you're only $10 less than the Retrobit Super Retro Trio Plus. And this only is 1 system, where that is 3-in-1. Yes, you get a more traditional Super NES type controller, but you get 3 systems on the Retrobit versus only 1 here. It's a hard sell for me because of that compared to the Super Retro Trio. On the video output on the Super NES side, they're pretty dang close. If anything, in some games, this is a little bit less sharp than that system is, so something to keep in mind. Say you already have a Retron HD or a Gamerstech 8-bit HD or a Retrobit RES Plus, and you just need a Super NES or Super Famicom compatible clone system, this will play your games just fine. I did not have an issue with anything that I threw at it. It did play the Super Game Boy games, Super NES, Super Famicom, they all played without an issue. It didn't have to screw on with the NTSC or PAL switch. I don't think I had anything that was PAL. I think everything I had was NTSC. So, I mean, no issues there. Yeah, overall, a lot of potential. I would really like this system if it was $15 to $20 less expensive. And looking at the history of Hyperkin's pricing, I wouldn't expect to, or I wouldn't be too surprised to see a price drop in the near future on this. Also a little bit annoyed at Amazon. I did pre-order this and took well more than a week after they had started shipping for me to get one. The Super Retron HD, like I say, it's a very good system, probably the best one that I've played from Hyperkin so far. I would actually even rate it as a better system than my Retron 5 as far as the overall package. The controller, the Retron 5 controller is terrible, we all know that. The sound was really good. The palette left a little bit to be desired. I don't almost wonder if that's a filter that they have preloaded in here that I kind of wish that you could tweak a little bit. It is hardware and not software emulation, so you don't have to dump the ROM like you do on the Retron 5 either, which is kind of speeds up gameplay a little bit. You could do worse. You could definitely do worse, but I do think in some ways you can do better than this. But this is not a bad option, I will say that. But these are just my opinions. What do you think? Let me know down in the comments. I really want to know what you all think on the Hyperkin Supa Retron HD. You can also go ahead, email me any questions that you might have on the system at rocksolidmail@gmail.com. That's also the best way if you do have product that you want us to cover and feature here on the channel to get a hold of us. You can also visit us on our Twitter page at Rock Solid Studios, or on our Facebook page at facebook.com/rocksolidproductions. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel too. That way, A, you help the channel out. Second of all, it keeps you up to date anytime we do have exciting new product reviews like the Supa Retron HD coming to the channel. Finally, if you do want to help support the channel so we can buy more gear like the way that we bought the Supa Retron HD off of the affiliate link that you can find down below in the more info section, you can donate and contribute to the channel through our Patreon page at patreon.com/rocksolid. For as little as $1 a month, you get early access to our videos, and if you donate $25 in a single month or more, we'll send you a Rock Solid Productions t-shirt. So that's something we are trying to give back to each and everyone who does help support the channel. The Supa Retron HD, like I mentioned, it's a decent system. It's not a perfect system, but not one that you should dismiss out of hand. My name is Gary. This has been Rock Solid Productions with the Hyperkin Supa Retron HD. Thanks for watching, and I will see you soon.